Well, hello and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is my wonderful co-host Danny, and today we're going to be continuing our Godheads series. And this time we have Thoth and Harmonia that we're going to be going over as we are beginning this quarter of duality.
I like this Godhead series, Moni. It creates just an extra sense of flavor over the movement around the wheel, and it lumps a couple of hexagrams together to give us a little more to say about each one and of course our beautiful way through this life of ours.
Thank you, Danny. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm having fun with it also. It's definitely one of those things that I looked into here and there before, and I couldn't really find much, and it never really grabbed me, and I didn't really remember much, but being able to do it with you as like a series and going over it the year, it's been really fun to learn this aspect of human design.
You know, since you said that and we got a little banter going, the truth of the matter is when I first heard the Godheads, I was like, okay, maybe. And then when I realized there was a practical aspect, I could take several hexagrams in the wheel and now give them more character and attribute as I, read for people. I was like, all right, this is good. Now I can find some practical use for it. Because before it was like, what's the practical use for this? Sort of like algebra 2,
Yeah, it just seems like this weird esoteric thing, but when we actually break it down to the sum of its parts, it actually makes more sense.
Oh, yeah. Proving once again, Ra didn't really waste any time, did he? He did no actual fluff that I can think of.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a fluff kind of guy.
Nope. Moving on.
Well, thank you to everyone who is watching and liking and subscribing. It really helps us out. We love having you here, and let's dive into it. So here we have our 16 Godheads on the Mandala wheel. I love this image, so I love to use it to show what we're doing here. We started in the green section over here with Maya and then Lakshmi. We went through Parvati and Maat. And so now we're getting into Thoth and Harmonia here in this yellow section.
Yep, and that's anyone who's looking. This is sort of what I was talking about. We're in duality, and you can see there's 4 hexagrams per Godhead. And so for you out there who are avid readers and for people and doing stuff, this is a way to add in a little more color to what is it you now know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another layer. It's another lens to understand human design in this beautiful wheel. We're going to just go through this like a little summary version of it. We did our longer video of this section, so I'll link that up in the description box above. But here we can see how we begin with the standard, your base yin yang, right? The yin being feminine, it's being magnetic. If you're looking at like binary code, it would be the 0. And it would be the minus sign if you're looking like minus sign plus sign, right? Because it's that magnetic, it's the feminine, it's the receptive. And it's represented as the broken line. And then on this other side, we have the yang, which is the masculine, the electric. It would be the 1 in binary code or the plus sign. And it's represented by a solid line. So if we start with your basic yin yang, and what we do here is we're going to start on the inside. And if you double the yin at the bottom, and then we add another yin and a yang on top. And then on the flip side, we take the yang, we duplicate it at the bottom, and then add another yin and a yang. So then you have your 4 base pairs.
Important to note, Moni, this is the first 2 lines of each hexagram Moni's pointing out here. The bottom 2 lines, lines 1 and 2. Just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely point it out and bring stuff up, because otherwise I'll just get lost talking. And we build it up from the bottom up. Just in general, just know that we go from the bottom up with all the lines, whether it's the 3 trigrams or the 6 hexagrams, we're going bottom up. So if we continue that process, we'll take this double yin line, we duplicate it over here, right? You have the double yin, and then you add another yin and a yang. Same thing with the yin and the yang on top. We duplicate it here at the bottom, add another yin and a yang. Yang with the yin on top, duplicate it, put another yin and a yang on top, and finally you have the double yang, duplicate it at the bottom, and another yin and yang on top. So if you go from that base yin yang and extrapolate it outwards, that's where we get these 8 trigrams from.
Makes sense. I like seeing it in the wheel where we can explode the view, so I can actually see the 4 hexagrams right in a row. These are the down at the bottom here. Which hexagrams are these, Moni? Are these the lower trigrams of a certain hexagrams in a row? 8. There's 8 of them. I'm assuming these are the 2 Godheads we're going over.
Today we're going over water. So we went over earth already. That's what we started at. And then we already did mountains. So now we're going to be going over the water.
Makes sense. Well, because for everyone, just so you know, as soon as you get to the beginning of a quarter around the wheel, you run into the same base pair all the way through that quarter. And then it starts to be a difference in the top one. So
yeah, and this is where you can actually see it with all like the hexagrams from the base yin yang, and you extrapolate it outwards. So this is like the full mandala. And then if we go to our next one, what we're going to be focusing on is this like fourth layer out. So you have the yin yang, and then you go into the stars. You have Dubhe, Jupiter, Sirius, Alcyone. And then on this third line here, you have the trigrams. So we started with Earth in the series. We've already done mountain. Now we're going to be doing water. And then this fourth layer out is where you keep extrapolating it, and that's where you have these Godheads.
that now makes sense. Well, the thing is, I relearn this each time I look at it because I'm never used to really looking at the wheel this way, because the Godhead is the fourth line. It's the externalization of the hexagram and of our
Of the
way.
trigram.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Godhead is the externalization of the trigram.
right.
Moving along, this time we're going to start looking at with this quarter of duality where you start with Jupiter. You can see it right here. If we extrapolate this outward, right, we double the yin and the yang on both sides, and then you add another yin and a yang. That's where we get water and wind. And so Jupiter kind of rules this quarter of duality. And the quarter of duality is about intimacy, it's about finding security and genetic security specifically. And it's this drive of let's keep us going on and getting on. This is about being great fertile agents that are keeping human life going. And purpose is fulfilled through bonding in the quarter of duality. The mystical theme is measure to measure. So this is about relationships and bonding, right? So the first quarter, the quarter of initiation, it's all like mental and mental inspiration. Then we go into the quarter of civilization, which is about like material form and bringing that mental into the world, into manifestation. And now stepping into this third quarter, the quarter of duality, it's about relationships and bonding.
When you look at it that way, it makes it all so simple. You know, it's a nice, easy, obvious movement around the wheel, representing how, you know, genetically how we have evolved as a species. Because you repeat this wheel 100,000 times, you got 100,000 years, and that's much of humanity's evolution. So
yeah, it's definitely like, for me at least, it's breaking down the wheel into these chunks and going through it in this very like systemic way is the only way I was going to understand it. Because I heard like initiation and civilization and mutation, like I heard all these things and I had like a vague thing that it exists and a sense of it, but I never really understand it until I like dove into it with you.
yeah, and I'm not the pro on this. I'm caught off guard at each step a little bit, waiting for you to tell me the thing so I can, which is probably healthy for this particular set of analysis.
Yeah, let me be strategic, you be, all peripheral with your right-mindedness.
Thank you, Moni.
Thank you, Danny. So here we have Jupiter. Jupiter rules the quarter of duality, and Jupiter is about expansion, abundance, wisdom, growth through interaction, and broadening perspectives via relationships and bonding. It's this interplay between the self and the other. And purpose is found through connection, whether it's romantic, familial, tribal, societal. Tensions and harmonies arising in this quarter of duality. And so Jupiter's influence is expansive and relational, this cosmic force that amplifies, and it amplifies this drive to connect, to share, and evolve through partnerships, and navigating the challenges of dependency and separation, all of those relationship type of things. And so Jupiter is a guiding force of the quarter of duality, illuminating the path of relationship as a vehicle for growth and fulfillment.
Tension and harmony, just like the profiles move through each week. You know, as we go through the profiles of the sun, for instance, in the transits. Harmony, 1-3, little bit of tension, 1-4, harmony, snap back to a base one that is now more harmony, a little bit of tension. Human design is filled with this. Duality is what happens after you thought it, built it, and now you're living in it. Purpose fulfilled through bonding, because you don't live in it alone. You live in it bonded with others in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I like that harmony and tension, that like I almost imagine like a pendulum swinging, right? Or like a clock or something, like TikTok. We're going from harmony to tension. And like any relationship you have with anybody, you're like, oh my God, I love you so much. And it's like harmony and it's beautiful. And then there's a little weirdness and you're like, ooh, tension. And you gotta learn, just as we interact with one another, it's like you're never just gonna have some beautiful, magical, Prince Charming kind of Disney ending in life. You're gonna have the pendulum swinging between harmony and tension by nature of relationships of two individual people coming together.
Yeah, and the thing about that is God was so smart. If we're going to have a bunch of individuated people, right, to exist in on a space, on a rock, right, in one place in time, they have to navigate tension and harmony. They have to, because there can be no other way. It's tension and harmony. It's just walking in stride, one foot in front of the other. Some tension, some harmony, some tension. So it's just whatever.
I love that. Yeah, because it's like when you really think about it, walking is just like you're moving forward as if to fall on your face, and then your own leg stops you.
Right.
Like you just learn how to do it well.
Technically, literally, that's what's happening. Yeah.
Harmony and tension, man. That's what it's all about.
Taking a walk.
Mhm. So here we can see, as we're zooming in further on the pie chart of the wheel, where we're still in this quarter of duality with Jupiter, we're just slicing it down to just talk about the water trigram. So the water trigram, where it's yin, yang, yin. And so if we take that, duplicate it at the bottom as we've been doing, we can see these bottom three lines are the same for both Thoth and Harmonia. And then again, we just put another yin and a yang on top. So basically, as Danny was saying, as we're talking about these Godheads, which is like a really heavy word, you could kind of think of it as the fourth line externalization of this water trigram. So in that same way as like a fourth line, when somebody has a fourth line, they're externalizing to their people, right? They're sharing that. And so the Godheads are kind of like figureheads, the yin and the yang expression and externalization of water for this section of the wheel. And water is about the emotional way of perceiving, and it's flowing and formless.
So water is, that's right, because the bottom trigram is going to change on the next two Godheads. But the
Yeah.
base stays the same. Base stays the same, but right, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be the same Jupiter base, but
Yeah.
then
Base two, meaning the base two. Lines 1 and 2 of each hexagram will always stay the same throughout a whole quarter, 16 hexagrams in a row. Yep. I love this. So then as we show right out to the fourth line, so if this is water, so then by layering the yin and the yang, it's forever changing the thing, is a thing. And then it becomes a master keynote you can add through all of duality, and it's going to have a slightly different flavor depending on the hexagrams we're talking about. 7 through 59 and 40 through 6, right? They're going to have different flavors to them. But there's still a tension harmony keynote added into all of them. In this quarter, navigate a tension and a harmony in a particular way. People whose sun, personality sun, is in this quarter, because Earth will be opposite, obviously, right? Tension and harmony when we're reading for somebody. That doesn't mean lead with it. It means that it's going to be there when you're explaining something. Suddenly it'll be like, well, there's tension and harmony. You're part of the slice of humanity that is here helping us walk through that. So, I mean, whether you know it or not, and whether you're any good at it or not, just like a projector guides us, whether they know it or not, or they're any good at being a projector or not, so helpless are we, Moni. God wanted it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a neat way to bring that in with like the quarter of duality. It'll always have that relationship, tension and harmony, harmony and tension back and
I
forth.
never thought to add it per se.
Neither did I. That's why we do this series.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to learn as we like bumble along through it.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have Thoth, and Thoth is the yin externalization of the water trigram. And Thoth is the Egyptian god of wisdom, writing, and the sacred sciences. Thoth is the divine scribe recording the universe's truths, credited with giving humanity the gift of writing, measuring the heavens, and guiding the souls of the dead through the judgment of Muat, which we actually talked about in the last series when we were doing the Godheads, was Mot. And Thoth embodies the depths of wisdom, fluidity, and mystery, dissolving barriers and uncovering hidden truths. embracing knowledge not as rigid certainty, but as an ever unfolding mystery. Thoth bridges the seen and unseen worlds, ensuring that knowledge flows and is preserved across the ages, acting as a mediator of divine forces. And Thoth calls us to seek deeper knowledge, refine our words with intention, and honor the sacred power of language as a bridge between the divine and the material world. And Thoth represents gates 7, 4, 29, and 59.
So Thoth's keeping of the books and keeping of the truth is what it sounds like. There's a maxim of law that says truth is supreme in law and equity and commerce, whatever. Yeah, but it's just meaning it's supreme. So if you come to something that's the truth, nothing can change that. And this, by the way, all that stuff is taken from stuff like this. This sets the precedent for how this all goes. The truth is kept here. And why is the truth part of measurements, all the things we've learned? Because we don't have it all to write down while we're in civilization. Like always, what's the full experience? The full expression of the experience is they persevered, they were in it in the moment after it was all done, as themselves as part of the vessel of love that then empowers the direction, and then they reflect on it. This is the reflection part of that. And it is a bonding process. Please don't only reflect alone. We reflect alone plenty, but I'm just saying, we're going to share those, and those 4 hexagrams are going to guarantee we share it. You know, I noticed they were collective and tribal, but as we get through the hexagrams, so then we'll start to see in the hexagrams, it will become apparent, literally. Why is this the measuring zone? What's so important about that to duality and the act of bonding and the creation of more? 59 is in this quarter, in an important spot in this quarter. You know, if ever there was a gate that guaranteed the reproduction of humanity through bonding and through mating, it's 59. And it's surrounded by all these gates that ensure it's not just caveman first line mating. It's bonding. And we're going to see how that gets thrown in together as well.
It's interesting because even like the words you're using, like the first one that stuck out was like reflection and reflecting upon something, which I was like, well, that's very watery. Like you can see your reflection in water.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I know you didn't do that on purpose. I know that just came out. So that was kind of fun. And then even that idea of like reflecting upon what has happened, right? The last quarter was the quarter of civilization. That's manifestation in the material world. And when you're in it, you're just in it. And it's like, it's only after something happens that you can kind of be like, what happened, and take stock. And like, yeah, you can go over it on your own. But at least for me, if I'm going over something, I end up like looping in it. And it's like, I could drive myself crazy to the point of like, I don't know if any of these things are real or if I could trust my interpretations on them. And you do need like another person to be like, hey, reality check. Is this what happened? Can we talk this out so I can create a sense of what that is? So I'm not just looping into myself. So those kind of stuck out to me, as well as like water is the depth, it's the unknown, it's the formless, it's the changing, right? It's like gate 29 is the abyss. It's like the abyss of the water and the depth of the perseverance. And even 59 with like sexuality and intimacy and bonding, like it's a very watery kind of act with another person to be engaged in. So it makes sense that like water is that trigram in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Water is the cradle that holds the life. It's totally appropriate that it is at the beginning of duality, where the life is not simply reproduced. In the first 2 quarters, it's not like people weren't making babies or, conceiving and becoming pregnant. It's just that as we keep going around the wheel year after year after, decade and century and millennia after millennia, we come to this quarter and it reminds us through the programming agents of the sky that are up in the sky, literally, those programming agents, the planets, they let us know that if here is where the water is, that the water is the cradle of not only the information, water stores data, period. And we all know the whole part of the cellular process is to turn the water over. I mean, we're turning the cells over, but the cells are mostly water. It's the water that holds the memory, literally. It's the water that holds the life. It's the water that does all this stuff. Water is apparently this guy's recording tape, right? It's his master little tape that loops. That's good enough for what water is. It's a CD-ROM. God, I'm dating myself. It's a flash drive.
You've seen, there's like that Japanese doctor, the scientist, whatever, that was doing stuff with
Love and
water.
Beauty
Yeah, Love
in the
and Beauty. If
water.
you like say words to,
Hoshiami or something. That guy was amazing.
yeah, it was like a Japanese scientist guy. And it's like he was either saying love and beauty and harmony into this water and then testing that water, or was like hatred and anger and rage and the different effects of like how it changed the structure of the water, which is pretty crazy.
I was bummed about one thing, and I want to get into that experiment myself. I just don't have a flash freezer, because you got to freeze the crystalline stuff like right away.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you can't just throw it in the freezer. It doesn't work the same way. I tried. I totally have tried.
Basically, though, the point being is water stores memory, and our bodies are mostly water. So
And
you know
collect
when
the information of the love or the hate of the people, programming it at that time to show what happens to the water, how it distorts itself when you give it ugly juice and ugly juju. It's no good, right? I mean, that's what they were doing. I was blown away when I saw that whole water experiment, and that's what made me realize that, well, the water is the cradle. That's the cradle of humanity. It's the cradle of this consciousness. It's the cradle of this world. I mean, the earth is the cradle of it, but the water on top of the earth cradles everything else for it, you know? It really is. So I've blown away that water is this trigram. Wait a second, is water's the trigram, not the four?
water's the trigram because it's
Trigram, yep.
three, and then
Yep.
Thoth is the four.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I can imagine what he's going to be talking about. I'm going to bet that as we read these gates, this guy isn't necessarily Mr. Sexy at everything. He's Mr. Practical, but I don't know. We're going to do the gates and find out.
So next up, we have Harmonia, and Harmonia is the Yang externalization of the water trigram, and she represents gates 40, 64, 47, and 6. Harmonia is the Greek goddess of harmony and accord. She's the daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. Harmonia is both the product of love and war, and she embodies the peaceful resolution of conflict and the unifying force of opposing energies. And this balance of transcending opposites. Harmonia represents structured flow, endurance, power of transformation through water's outward force, directed, resilient, and capable of carving pathways through unyielding terrain. And this is about the journey to understanding, requiring both persistence and surrender, embracing the fluid intelligence that turns chaos into wisdom. And Harmonia calls us to seek balance in our lives, to transform disharmony into unity, and to embrace the tension between opposites as a source of growth and beauty.
Opposition and unity. First part is simply the act of harmony tension, which we could talk about in a cold manner in a classroom all day long about two different amoeba. But then when we get to actual opposition, then unification, the conflict through the lack of conflict, that peaceful versus unpeaceful. Now these are words that become human. To me, that's how I'm reading this. And as they do that, of course, we fall into the yin of it all. And it's just, it's so fitting. But to me, this is basically, we're now sophisticating and making more graceful as from a human perspective. What was all these measurements we were taking? That's now, the measurements are important because we speak them, they become. Look at civilization. It was all in the throat. We spoke civilization, and God started with the word. I mean, you can't get any more prophetic than that. It's just obvious. It almost seems scientifically obvious, but we still have to measure that stuff first. But you get what I'm saying. And so here we are sophisticating the measurement part, which is going to be more practical, into the part that now has to feel, right? And it has to navigate in close enough quarters in no small way, in a tribal way, always, because that's where it starts, essentially, where you can smell it and taste it, touch it. It's got to transgress and transcend just harmony tension, and it's got to turn that into this direct, resilient, capable carving out of the obviousness between peace and conflict. It's got to embody a unifying force versus opposition, opposing energies, and more conflict. And the way of these two Godheads is gate 6. the resolution of conflict, or the navigation of it altogether. That's gate 6's name. Conflict. We renamed it friction, but conflict is what it was about for the original I Ching. Awareness, sorry, it brings new awareness to the friction part of the word friction. Yeah, we know it creates friction because you need friction, the passage through. You need friction to create the understanding, right? No friction, we don't know what it is. If you ever cast a thing in the water to catch a fish and you pull nothing, there's nothing there. It's only when something starts tugging on it that you know you're into something meaningful. And that's exactly what this gal represents to me. It's the obvious arbitration in a humanistic way that learns to cooperate with tribal relevance and intelligence through the navigation of conflict and the friction that guarantees intelligence. No friction, no intelligence. The way of this half of the quarter.
It's really interesting and understanding the quarter of duality as this like relational interaction. And especially it's like we just went through with Thoth, it ends with gate 59, which is about like sexuality and intimacy. And then going into like Harmonia, you have gate 40, which is about like aloneness. So it's kind of interesting that we shift from like intimacy into also aloneness. And then it ends with gate 6, which is like another, like, so like 59, 46. It's like these are all these kind of like tribal dynamics and interactions.
And there's a definition here. And that definition mirrors something that's on the other side. So there's a deep, deep connection here. Do you see the definition, 6447?
Oh yeah, the 6447, that is right there.
What's going on in 6447? Mind, right? Mm-hmm. This is the deep, I'm just saying, it's like the real abstract version of what's it all going to mean is left up to the yin here, obviously. And 40, the aloneness is after the work got done. It's not just aloneness all the time. It's sort of something is done and then you're liberated from doing things into your aloneness. And the deep, dank place that you derive meaning is when you're alone. And then you go out and you share and you derive some more meaning, and then you contemplate it when you're alone. So I'm so glad that that was the girl's job and not the guy's job, because he would have skipped it all like me. Let's just move on to harmony and everything's great, right? No, well, we need mother. We need mother to cap off this process, or else it's going to be all messed up. It'll be foobar.
Well, and interesting too, because it's harmonia, so you think just harmony, but it's harmony and discord. It's again, we're going to that harmony and tension point.
Yeah, if you take out the H and the R, you've got ammonia. Harmonia is sweet and sour.
Oh, Danny.
Well, I think that, yeah, that's what that is. That's not my fault.
No, you're just, you're finding patterns and things. But yeah, so any other thoughts on harmonia?
Yes, they switch. I don't know if is it this way all throughout the wheel so far? I forgot because I haven't paid attention. She gets the yang externalization of it all. So her externalization is very yangy, meaning the way she externalizes is very authoritative, if you want to look at it that way.
Well, it's moving outward.
Sure, let's call it that way.
As opposed to receiving. Like the yin and the feminine is that magnetic that's receiving. The yang is that electric moving out.
Right. And so the guy has to steward in the knowledge for its safekeeping. And that's very often keep us safe. That's a yang thing, right? But at the top of his line is the yin. Yeah. And it's just a protective thing. So he's got this one protective job of the Library of Alexandria, for example. And then she's got the yang job of throwing it out there, all from the sense of water, which is the cradle. So here's the cradle, taking it in and then spitting it back out. And it's been cleansed. Gate 6 has fire. It has fire. It's pH. It can make it total acidic and burn it up that way, or it can make it totally basic and burn it up that way. Our stomach is fire, acid is fire, pH creates that. Gate 6 cleanses through fire, just like gate 12 can. Gate 12's second line purification will blaze the thing on fire to purify the area once and for all before it's in the mood to finally do something. Gate 6 will blaze away the entirety of the bonding process, the theme of the purpose of this quarter, if need be, through the act of friction, which creates fire. Rub two sticks together, you'll find out. And gate 6 is the gatekeeper. It's, again, back to, it's the way of these 8 hexagrams.
Beautiful.
That was my cherry on top.
That was a really good cherry on top. I picked up on it.
Mhm.
That was really good. So yeah, that was our first installment of our attempt to make it through all the incarnation crosses. So great job, Danny.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. By the time I get to the 4th, I'm struggling to grapple these things and like cement it in place so we can move on. Because I always feel like we can't move on. I always want to stay in the same place and well, actually it to death. My gate
Oh
9.
yeah, I could.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
I
but
could
then
see.
there's more, and then there's more, and then you know.
Yeah, and I could see that like your right-mindedness trying to be strategic.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
just like, stop trying so hard. Just let it come out.
Well, it's a process. I don't know if I'm gonna. Well, we'll see. We got 190 some odd of these things to do or something. So good luck.
Yeah, but I have it kind of figured out. If we just spread things out, we'll get through them. Because I'm like, I don't know. I want to study this with Danny.
No doubt. No doubt.
And thanks for hanging out, and catch you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Love you.
Bye.